The House will come to order. Hearing no objections, we'll revert to messages from the Senate.
Message from the Senate. Madam Speaker, I hereby announce the passage by the Senate of the following House file, herewith returned as amended by the Senate, in which amendments the concurrence of the House is respectfully requested. House File Number 3438, an act relating to legacy. The message is signed Cal R. Ludeman, Secretary of the Senate. Lillie moves that the House concur in the Senate amendments to House File Number 3438 and that the bill be repassed as amended by the Senate.
I recognize the author, Representative Lillie.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, members. That is my motion, that the House concurs with the Senate bill, which includes essentially the outdoor heritage provisions, and there's some extensions that are in the bill, and some other sort of things. No, I'm kidding. Just seeing if you're awake. So, no, there's, we added a couple of provisions in the clean water area. So what they are is that, so the budget forecast comes out, and typically they've been giving their clean water proposals before the budget forecast. So now it would change it so that they are given time by statute to offer their proposals after to include the budget forecast. So that one makes a lot of sense. And then the second, in the clean water areas, in the second year, to include, to have them, like they do in Lessard Sam's, that they'll look at the surplus or if there's a deficit and less sales tax on the bottom line, so that, that they would make a proposal to the legislature and put those forth. So those are the provisions in the clean water article. Backtracking for a second, I just want to say that the Lessard Sam's piece is basically, it's on an annual basis, and so some of our members, Representative Heitzman and Representative Jamie Becker-Finn, served on this, and they met all year, and they looked at these proposals and went through them, and there's tons of them. I don't know if Representative Green has the folder over there, but it's quite a thick pamphlet, and they vet these projects and they go through. And so it's basically picking those up, and the Senate and the House have agreed to include those. And that's roughly $159 million worth of projects around all over the state of Minnesota. So I think that's essentially it. We have a few extensions that are included that based on what happened with COVID, some of the projects needed a little bit more time to be completed. So those projects are included in here as well. It was a little bit disappointing. We were hoping the Senate position was to spend some of the funds that were on the bottom line, particularly in the arts and culture area, in the parks and trails, and also in the clean water area. And just in the clean water area alone, it was $47 million. We had some very good projects, but there was not an appetite across the street to do that. And that's unfortunate, because just one good example was the money that was going to go towards working with the lead problem we have with homes. And Vice Chair Jordan carried that, and it was a great effort. Half the money would go to the PFA in Greater Minnesota, and I know through Representative Erdahl how much he loves the PFA. So I really trusted their work, and we did as a committee, and the rest would go to the Met Council, but there was no appetite to do that sort of thing. And another problem was we were hoping to spend the bottom line, because with COVID, some of the parks and trails projects are coming in, well, not necessarily with COVID, but just the reality of the construction world we're in. Some of the projects are coming in more expensive. So by spending the bottom line, we could have finished projects. Instead, some of the projects that we funded last year's bill will not be able to be fully implemented, so it's a little disappointing. In the arts and culture area, there was many projects that needed more funds, and that with COVID and a variety of reasons, but So there's $12 million that are sitting on the bottom line, and so the legislature next year, I mean, it's not going to go away, but that's on top of the 6% reserve that we leave on all these funds, just so you all the members know that we are kind of anticipating if there's dips or dives or whatever. So that's essentially it. I think it's a very good bill for Minnesota, and I look forward to if there's any discussion, if any questions or that sort of thing. So thank you, Madam Speaker and members.
Discussion on the motion to concur. Representative Green.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I didn't see anybody else standing up, so maybe it's going to be a quick bill, depending on how long I talk. I will say that I don't usually thank people, but I'm not going to forget today to thank staff. The staff do work hard, whether the bills go through or not. We always get our updates and the information on them, and so I appreciate that. I've served on this committee now for 10 years and tried to make some reforms, and I've made a few, not a lot, but I've made a few. I think this year, probably more than ever, was a little disappointing. Although the provisions that were in there for the Clean Water Fund were stripped out, and they had to be stripped out because they weren't vetted well. It was just money tossed out there without a lot of talk and a lot of discussion, very little anything in committee talking about individual projects. But that said, it's disappointing that we couldn't have broken this mold of saying that we as legislators have to pass whatever the council send to us, because that's really not the case. There are opportunities for us to go in and vet the projects a little better, and I don't really think that the projects are vetted that good. I go through these books every year, and I will tell you that in more cases than not, there will be sums of money out there to buy specific acres of land, but those specific acres of land aren't named. So it would be, for instance, one is 840 acres. And if you look and try to find out where those acres are going to be purchased, they won't tell you. It's just a list of many across the state that they may be able to pick those 840 acres out of, and that I don't consider to be very good vetting. This bill, again, purchases over 8,000 acres of land. It purchases more than 18,000 acres of easements, again, in the state. And at a time when we own very close to, if not at least a third now, the federal and the state government own a third of our state. And there was a lot of land out there that we could do enhancements on with this money. And the money for enhancements goes many, many times further than the money that we're spending to buy the acres. And if you do go out and look at some of this land, you'll see some of it's not very well maintained. A lot of it is not maintained. And so that is disappointing as well. I have voted for a few of these bills. Usually when I vote for them, it's when I get some amendments onto the bill that I think would make the bill better. That's not the case this year. I'm not going to continue on too long on this because we did go through this for some time when the bill went off the House floor. And I think unless people want to belabor it and go further, I'll probably end there. I'm not going to give you a recommended vote on this. I will be voting no on it. I know that I talked to Chair Lillie and he was hoping for a little better than that, but if he had done those reforms, he probably could have got that, but he was stubborn. So thank you for hearing me out, and whether or not we go further, I guess will depend on the members.
There being no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion to concur with the Senate amendment say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The motion prevails. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File Number 3438, as amended by the Senate.
Discussion. I recognize the author, Representative Lillie.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members, and again, thank you for the robust discussion a while back. We're in a legislature, it's divided, and sometimes we don't get everything we want, and there's some of that in this bill, but it's I think it's really a good product and at the end, and it's I've often said this, as politicians, if you can't win an election and what's in a legacy bill, especially the first year, you're a terrible politician. There's great stuff in there for libraries and swimming lessons, parks and trails. There's just all sorts of stuff, and especially in Representative Heitzman's district. I think half the fund goes up there. So I really thank you for the opportunity for the speaker to be on this committee and to lead it, and we've been blessed with a strong committee. The lead Green has done a very good job. He's as we know, he's thorough, and he does his homework, and he shows up every day for work. So it's hard not to respect that. We don't always agree, a big surprise, but I do have a lot of respect for him. My vice chair, Miss Jordan, she's really stepped up and has really done a great job. And like I said earlier on the lead, that's a real issue for Minnesota, and I hope that the Clean Water Council takes a look at it, or we do as a legislature, and tries to help fund that. We had 2 chairs that were on this committee, former chairs, so that's always intimidating. Right next to me is I call him, he's kind of my seatmate here, even though we're not really, but Representative Erdahl. And there's nothing in here for Litchfield, and he still might vote for the bill this year. So I'm hoping, I'm still hoping, we'll see. He said he was iffy. And then Representative Murphy has been a leader on this, and since day one, she's pretty funny because she offered advice often, and one of my favorites is with you, Representative Green, because I'd introduce you as Lead Green, and she thought that was maybe your new first name or something, but she was a great mentor, is a great mentor and a leader on these issues, and so Representative Acomb is on the committee, and thank you, Representative Anderson and Bo right here, and Christensen and Hassan, and I'm not going to forget Nelson. Where is he? Okay, he's at home today. I didn't forget him, and Representative Jean, and I want to thank Representative Waslick, because we all lead on different things, and one of the things that she did in this bill when she was vice chair last year, she's leaving us to do other things right now, but she led on swimming lessons, and that's tucked in this bill, not necessarily this year, but last year. And to think, with all these lakes in Minnesota and not knowing how to swim, a lot of our neighbors that are new to Minnesota, it's really neat to think that I added that word, so that they can learn how to swim. This is a compromise bill, and like I said, we didn't get everything we want. I want to also thank Amy Zipko over here. She's top-notch in my team, Sam O'Neill and Molly Peterson, and certainly Mike Mozan. Great. And our nonpartisan staff, Helen Roberts, Janelle Taylor, Mary Mullen, and Brad. We're just really blessed with that. I'm sorry to go on, but there's a lot of good things, and please look at your bill. At this bill this year, and I know it is seriously vetted. There's great projects in here, and certainly in last year's the main legacy bill, there's really wonderful projects that really serve Minnesota well and make it a much better place to live and to all those things. So thank you for your time today, and thank you for hearing this bill, and I ask for your green vote, please.
There being no further discussion, the clerk would take the roll. Members, please vote. The clerk will call the names of the members who haven't voted yet.
Anderson.
Anderson, nay.
Anderson, no. Bliss. Bliss, no. Christensen.
Christensen, aye.
Christensen, aye. Frazier.
Frazier, aye.
Frazier, aye. Hamilton.
Hamilton, no.
Hamilton, no. Hanson, J.
Hanson, J, aye.
Hanson, J, aye. Hassan. Hassan.
Hassan, aye.
Hassan, aye. Hausman. Hausman. Hertos. Hertos. Hollins.
Hollins, aye.
Hollins, aye. Hornstein.
Hornstein, aye.
Hornstein, aye. Cagle.
Cagle, aye.
Cagle, aye. Mariani. Mariani. Mecklin. Mecklin. Morrison. Morrison. Olson L.
Olson, L, aye.
Olson L. I. Pearson.
Pearson, no.
Pearson, no. Thompson. Thompson. Wozlowick.
Wozlowick, aye.
Wozlowick, I. West.
West, no.
West, no. Zhang Jie.
Aye.
Zhang Jie, aye. Speaker Hartman.
Speaker Hartman, aye.
Speaker Hartman.
Hausman, aye.
Speaker
Hausman, aye.
Speaker Hartman, aye. Hausman.
Hausman, aye.
Hausman, aye. Hertos. Hertos. Mariani. Mariani, aye. Mecklin. Mecklin. Morrison. Morrison. Thompson. Thompson.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 89 ayes and 40 nays, the bill is repassed as amended by the Senate and its title agreed to. Announcements by the Speaker.
Announced by the Speaker announces the appointment of the following members of the House to a conference committee on House File number 3765. Hanson R., Acom, and Heinzman.
Motions and resolutions. There are copies of non-controversial motions at the House and online. If there's no objection, we will take action on these motions first. Hearing no objection, the motions prevail. Announcements. I recognize the member from Ramsey, Representative Herr.
Madam Speaker, I move that when the House adjourns today, it adjourns until 11 a.m. Friday, May 20th, 2022.
Representative Herr moves that when the House adjourns today, adjourns until 11 a.m. Friday, May 20, 2022. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no.
No.
The motion prevails. Representative Herr. Oh, Representative New Brindley.
Republican members will be caucusing again immediately following session tonight.
Representative Herr.
I move that when the House adjourns, I move that the House do now adjourn.
Representative Herr moves that the House do now adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The motion prevails and the House stands adjourned until 11 a.m. Friday, May 20, 2022.